The Deep Homie Guide to the 21st Century.
Greetings from the Cuse. It's the Deep Homies getting loose. What is up? Today is Tuesday, May 11th, 2021. And it's me, your boy. It's your boy, Karam Anthony, Deep Homie K. Right here with Pete Eddie Woods. Paul Wood, how you doing, brother?
I'm just trying to get on by, just trying to get through this.
And we're broadcasting live from Syracuse, New York. I hope you guys are having a great day. Peace doing good. We just got to pump them up a little bit with some positivity.
Got match energy. Just
pump it up, baby. Pump it up. Yeah, man. So here we are on the Deep Homie Verse. Here we are talking and chilling once more. And we're so excited. Last week we had such an exciting interview. If you haven't checked that out yet, Pastor Jordan Carter came in and I learned a lot from that interview. I swear I did.
Uplifting, felt invigorated.
Yeah, it was invigorating, and I think a lot of the messages he gave us were so important for this time and where we're at as a culture here in America right now. This whole concept of integration and this whole concept of like really communicating, this active and leaning into communication with one another, bringing the two sides back together again, like Humpty Dumpty, put America back together again. Yeah,
absolutely. Humpty Dumpty.
It is, man. Did you feel the same, P?
I did. I think it's interesting that some of the concepts we talked about with Jordan, they kind of echoed some of the things we talked about with Zach, and maybe even as we go back, Zach Edwards. Maybe even if you go back even further with or chat with Paul, Paul Ellinger. Yeah,
Dr. Seuss and the wet ass pussy paradox.
Yeah, that was the title of the app, right? I think we're like seem to be forwarding through figuring out what this pod kind of is trying to express, or maybe what we're
for sure.
Yeah. And
yes.
It's wonderful.
No, I totally feel that. I think looking back on this pod, it started someplace. It started in the specific place of maybe going for more motivation and self-betterment. We can better ourselves. We can better our world. And it's still there. We had all these life hacks, jump in a cold shower, do these breathing, and that's all good stuff. And we're still going to bring some of that to the table. But it went from that. Then we started getting more, I guess Paul was the first conversation where we were starting to talk more political and more social. And then we started talking a lot about tech. We got into a little NFT world, little Bitcoin world. We had Sam explain computing to us, distributed computing. Yeah. So we were like, we're getting into like the tech, like future society, like new technology. The Deep Homies are going to introduce it first. Like the future stuff, it's here, it's now. The new trends. Let's talk about it. Like who's going to get the chip? Who's going to do this? Who's going to get the... And to be fair, during that period, we had some great calls. Even as far back as... Mike Hines coming on here. I got to say, we are not financial advisors, but I think this is a lucky broadcast. If you listen to the Deep Homies, you might invest in something good because listen, what have we called so far? We've called Ada. That's up like 100% or so since we broadcast. Ada.
Last week was at its all-time high, right? At some point.
Dot. I don't know if that's quite doubled, but it's definitely up. Dot's up.
That's one I have.
And those are both.
Yeah.
And by the way, I found a way to get us to get into that if we need to. But
Ooh.
It's tougher here in New York State. It's draconian.
Talk after this podcast.
Oh. There's always some secrets, bro. But and funniest thing ever, funniest call, and maybe it's just a lucky guess. Who knows? But Ellinger himself called Doge.
Oh, did he? I forgot.
He called Doge in the first few minutes. I was trying to introduce the podcast.
He had a lot of claims during that one.
But that was his only financial call that I was aware of.
Okay, yeah.
And he's like, invest in Doge.
Yeah.
I was like, well, don't bet your mother's farm on it. He's like, no, I got a friend he's in it, like, he's got like 9,000 zillion of them. And we're like trying to figure out what he's trying to say to us. But basically, bro, that went up like since he called that, Doge went up, I think 800 or more %.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
8 times or more.
Wow.
And I'm glad that we
I've had my eye on it this week for another, like, what's the entry point now? After it just cascaded downward post Elon's SNL experience.
So cryptically, Elon has posted. Now, Elon apparently is this great pumper for whatever he talks about. He's talked about Bitcoin, and he's talked about Doge, and both those cryptocurrencies have both done astoundingly well, seemingly in relation to him talking about them and buying Bitcoin with Tesla and all the rest of it. That may or may not be correlated, but it seems like it is. Now, he had that cryptic tweet recently about how he wants there to be a Shiba pup for Doge.
A
Shiba Inu is a dog.
Oh, okay.
It said something about a Shiba pup, and very recently as well, there's been this new crypto that seemingly has no purpose, just like Doge, called Shiba Coin.
Shiba Coin.
And now that mother trucker has gone up like a zillion percent. Really? It's gone up 1,000,000% in about a month.
Wow.
If you had put $1 in, I think a month or two ago, you would currently have $1 million.
Wow.
But it's not high. It's like 0.0000 like 9 or whatever. So I bought a little of that this weekend. So that's another call. I'm putting my life on the line for you. I'm putting my reputation on the line, making financial calls I have no business making.
We got to start getting you like a set around you that looks like Mad Money, you know?
So it's something that I think everybody is interested. Everybody is interested in money and personal finance. Nobody's interested in greed, but everybody's interested in being able to provide for your family and all the rest of it. And so sometimes you go, sometimes you got. And I think the coolest part about recommending our listeners looking at Doge, maybe I'm not sure about Doge now, but Shiba,
giving financial.
We're not.
Advice.
But I think one of the most interesting things is it's like it is speculation, but it's not. It doesn't require a high entry point. You might throw $20 in or $100 in and still come out with 1,000 on the other end. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you don't have to bet your farm. You don't have to turn into the one dude from The Sopranos who loses his entire his whole sports store in the third season or whatever it is.
Oh my gosh, the gambler. It's you know what it is.
The degenerate gambler.
It's the T-1000. It's Terminator 2 is the guy.
Oh my gosh,
he's the actor. Yes, he's like the greatest runner of all time.
Oh, he looks like a runner, like he's a sprinter.
Yes, like literally he was in the filming. They were like, "Hey, you're gonna have to slow down a little bit because you're catching up to the motorcycles."
Okay, well, and neither of us can ever remember his name from the episode.
Oh, you don't need to. It's the T-1000.
All right, it's the T-1000 in The Sopranos.
Yeah.
Yo. All right. So anyway, that's the new call, but we're putting the reputation on the line. So anyway, we got into tech, and then we talked about Bitcoin. We talked about the technology behind it, and the decentralized web, and the promise of a non-censored Web 3.0. Perhaps the more things move over into the blockchain, it's nearly impossible to delete something that's already been created in a blockchain. So it's the promise of non-censorship and all the rest of it.
Yeah. Well, we attempted to explain blockchain.
We didn't do a good job, but we did.
But we made a nice pod.
It was. I pulled, and now I'm saying what I extracted from all that technical analysis, and it wasn't very good technical analysis. It was very bad, but I think we pulled the broader message out, which is literally, I think, is a promise of a decentralized, less censored internet. I'm not saying that crypto is the internet, but there are a lot of different cryptos that are trying to be a new decentralized web.
And when you say cryptos, you're saying the blockchain technology behind it is actually like the future of the internet.
It could be. There are a lot, like the DApp thing on Ethereum. Ethereum is a host of all these applications, and that could be basically, because what is the internet but a bunch of different applications wired together, a bunch of different websites hosted and wired together. Mm-hmm. That's what I think is the biggest hope of the blockchain technology out of analysis is for the layman person. One is an interesting way of a faster way of maybe a less inflationary currency than the fiat dollar and all the rest of that. So there's less inflation. Actually, Bitcoin itself is deflationary since because the amount is diminishes.
What would it be? Static, or it's
it'll
permanent?
Ultimately be static.
Yeah.
But yes, but the rate at which you can mine it decreases over time as well. So it's a deflationary coin. Yeah. So it increases in value. Whereas the fiat paper money, the dollar, and the rest of it, they just print that at whatever rate, at whatever interest rates and all that.
As long as the Fed Reserve says it's okay, it's going to be okay, right? That's what it boils down to. The government asks permission from a bunch of rich people, and then rich people say, "Yeah, you can ruin your currency," and then they do it.
And it's funny too because it's right now you see it like with your own two eyes in America and probably in the world, but in America right now, 2021 May, we are seeing gas prices inflate. We are seeing commodity price inflate. Corn, lumber, all this stuff is getting way more expensive. Chicken prices are up through the roof.
This is in our lifetime. We've seen things inflate, but this is probably the closest we've ever come to hyperinflation. Like seeing
we're starting to see that
dollars just increase of like. I don't know. Are the days gone of like being able to buy hamburger for like ground beef for like I don't know, $2.99 a pound. Like, is that over with?
I'm not sure, but
You know what I mean?
it might be, and I think it's hopefully incomes will increase as so hopefully it won't be rampant societal destruction, Weimar Germany, where we're carrying money around and wheelbarrows and everyone's going crazy. Like, hopefully,
you got to deal about the cost of wheelbarrows.
Salaries just go up, and hopefully everything kind of just evens out, I suppose. But at any rate, why? That's not the ideal monetary system. The ideal monetary system is closer to the Bitcoin, where it's deflationary and things are worth more over time, as opposed to the dollar getting weaker every year. That's weird to me. But
and I also think you'd agree that part of the massive gains we've seen, quote unquote gains of
simply
of
adjusted
Ethereum,
of inflation.
It's partially just inflation. Like
Yeah.
it is the U.S. If your measuring stick is the U.S. dollar,
Yeah.
and now the U.S. dollar's value is being deflated through inflation, would it be devalued through inflation? Then that's a little bit of why we're seeing Bitcoin at 60,000. I guess Ethereum had a really good month here, huh?
Yeah, well, Ethereum really, it's Ether is the name of the currency. That's what I messed that up in the previous episode. It's called Ether if you talk about the money part of it.
Whoa.
But it's exciting. Ethereum is as a project. Vitalik Buterin just became minted as a billionaire like a week or two ago.
Holy cow!
Around the time that Ether crossed 3,000, it just recently crossed 4,000. Now it's a little below 4,000. Last I checked. But Ethereum is such an exciting project because that's, like I said, they're the biggest host for the DApps as a system. Bitcoin won't do that. You got
when you say DApps, it's
decentralized applications.
Okay,
so it's like kind of like a pseudo internet style thing. You can do more things with it than just interact with money. That's all that Bitcoin essentially can do is you can just interact money wise, but currency wise. But anyway, Ethereum. Not only do they have more applications and the way that you can use these DApps on there, they're also going from proof of work to proof of stake this summer. I believe Ethereum 2 project, which means basically they're going green. So Bitcoin, whereas I still think I'm bullish on Bitcoin personally, long term, I don't know if I'm as bullish on Bitcoin because it uses tons of electricity.
So you're saying that if the Ethereum network is going green, meaning they will switching from, you said, proof of stake to proof of work?
Proof of work to proof of stake.
Okay.
So like right now, proof of work, the computers are working all day long solving these math problems.
Which you're saying will be greener.
Yeah, because it won't use electricity.
Which you mean
it won't use. Yeah.
It will use less electricity. The miners will have to actually use less resources.
Yeah.
So mining may become something that you want to look into.
So mining may be less important because I think in general now this is somewhere I'm getting a little murkier.
You mean less important, or you mean less money making?
So the proof of stake model is. I may be botching this. Please, somebody reach out in the comments. Tell me I'm an idiot. But it's something along the lines of proof of stake is more like you get rewarded for holding the coin. You can stake your coins, and that means they're in the liquidity network so that they can kind of help the network operate somehow, shape or form. And so when you stake your coins, you are able to actually earn rewards. And those are the people that power the network because those coins aren't really in your wallet. They're kind of in the public one, and somehow they're helping to transact. Kind of reminds
me of the essence of what a bank is. Like, hey, come store your money here. It's all here, but we're also lending that out and loans and things of that nature.
It is kind of like that.
Giving you a little interest.
It is kind of like that.
And when you need it, we'll be able to give you yours, and it's all flowing and circulating.
Yes, and so the biggest. Yeah, so that's what's happening. So it looks like Ethereum could keep running for a while, but I guess I made a second call. There's my second call for you, the non-financial.
Way to go!
So since we're not financial experts,
you had a list of our failures, right? Our bad decisions.
We have made no failures insofar as calling.
Is cold showers on there or what? No.
I failed as a cold shower. I never did my live stream of me jumping in the cold lake, and I have to say that's my biggest weakness is that. And I gotta say I did, but look, man, you gotta pick and choose your life hacks. I watched a really
that was Sebastian's life hack was pick and choose, right? It was kind of like pick your battles. Don't try to do them all.
Yeah,
and I think one at a time.
That kind of culminated the saga of life hacking. I think the early saga. It is a show that has evolved past trying to make non-financial calls, which somehow have all been right.
Not to brag, but
So maybe it's a lucky show because we're not actually experts. But now what we're talking about is Jordan Carter came on. He had the term lean in.
Leaning in.
Leaning in, baby. We're leaning in. And leaning in was his way of talking about active listening and conscious discourse and bringing two sides to the table. And he said the most important thing he learned from his father when I was asking the question, was it like having the cheat codes, the 900? You could do the 900 in the Tony Hawk game, like having a father like that, a spiritual expert? And he laughed and he said, kind of not really, because he's my father. But the biggest important thing he learned from that was this concept of integration. Just because there's one side that thinks a bunch of stuff, you got the left side, they all think something. Just because the right side thinks all this other stuff, doesn't mean that you have to pick between the two. It's a false duality of left or right. And he went on to elaborate. He was saying, I think there's some ideas on the left politically that are a good idea. I think there's some things on the right I think are a good idea. And I think that's most people. But as we also insinuated in the episode, the media drums up conflict because conflict sells, controversy sells. So the media has to wedge us up. They highlight all the issues that divide us the most. Whether it's government spending, whether it's Donald Trump, whether it's abortion, whether it's whatever, it's guns, it's school shooting. It's they don't talk about how somebody helped an old lady across the street that day, or whatever. They don't do things that would bring us together. They do things that will sell, because war sells, controversy sells. And so anyway, if you want to be woke from that, I think this is the way. This leaning into hard conversation and not needing to pick a side all the time on these issues, because we're all Americans, we're all world citizens, we're all human beings. Yeah,
I think it's really, really important to practice this. It's maybe the only way we're going to get through this together.
And this is almost like what we're seeing as the third wave, like maybe the full iteration, maybe the fuller expression of the Deep Homie Guide is to try to have these conversations with people. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle they're on. It doesn't matter what their identity is, one way, shape, or form, color of their skin, preferences, gender, all that other stuff. It's like we're trying to dissolve all those lines on the show to best we can to try to heal the discourse, heal society, and all that.
Yeah.
And you were saying you had this Walt Whitman quote you were saying earlier.
Yeah, it illuminated to me or brought to me by the TV show Ted Lasso. Incredible show. There's a quote by Walt Whitman that says, "Be curious and not judgmental." And I think that fits right in step with leaning in and
maybe lean in,
not being tricked by the fallacy or the falsehood that there is a side to be chosen here. Like we're really not at war with the opposing viewpoints, like politically or whatever, that we can find common ground. And when somebody says something that's upsetting, I think we've talked about like defund the police. That's a really inflammatory term.
Defund the
police. And I think my knee jerk reaction, my first thought was, what do you mean? Like really angry. And I think that term was maybe poorly chosen or whatever, but there was a part of me that maybe even though I wouldn't have been able to tell you the Walt Whitman quote at that point, was saying, okay. There's probably actually a reasonable, logical thing that they're trying to say, or at least some people are with this viewpoint. So rather than judging them, let's not rush to judge. Let's actually maybe be curious and want to hear people out where they're at.
Yeah.
And I think that's so key. And I think that's Jordan had that, like, whatever led to your life experiences, the pain, the joy, everything that's built you to that point, wanting to be curious, leaning in, trying to understand where people are coming from is really, really massive key. So that's the life hack.
And the life hack, it is a life hack of viewing things. And he had talked about that, the fork, the knife, the fork, actually.
The fork, yeah.
The fork. And the fork could be viewed as somebody, hypothetically, you imagine two different societies, and you see one society uses that fork to eat with, and maybe, let's say, the other society uses that fork to fight with, wars or whatever,
Yeah.
And so he didn't quite elaborate in that manner, in a sociological manner of like two tribes or whatever. But I could see it either way, and it's like, one community could say, "Oh my God, I see that as a weapon." One community could see the police and say, "Oh my God, I see the police as a weaponized force against me and my community. That's what I see. I don't care what whatever. I don't care what you think. Not even the facts, but my facts are I see interactions in my community all the time. In the black community, for example, they might say, it's always negative with the police. It's always dominated and submissive. It's terrible. This, that, and the other. It's warlike. It's violent, and the color disparity is too obvious, and all the rest of it. And then you have another community, where we come from, the suburbs, where we're like, we've never really had, like, even though I'm not white. I'm a person of color. I came from the suburbs, and it was almost regional. It was almost class or something. I was like, I've never had a huge problem with the police out there.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it almost in that way transcends race. But these two truths can be true at the same time, and you start to integrate them and come to the true.
The true together. I mean, I think it's really, really, really important, and I think that in the year we've just had, where you're more isolated than ever, you're maybe getting pulled into your own viewpoint. And then social media's algorithm is turning into an echo chamber of what you think, and
yeah, exactly.
Just fortifying your position, and maybe even I guess fortifying might be the right word, because fortifying is preparing it for defense and attack, right?
Yeah.
So rather than, I think it's just really important in this time to try our best to remain curious, lean in, hear where is the other person's viewpoint coming from.
I hope that all this like blanket bipartisanship just dies. I hope that we're part of a greater trend. I hope it's not just us, like, impotently yelling out into the wind.
No, we're the only ones doing it, and we were against everybody.
I really hope that this integration becomes more mainstreamed. And I asked him if he meant non-duality when he was saying, he's like, well, I don't call it that. But that's sort of what I learned in my years of studying, getting into Zen Buddhism, and even a little bit of Hinduism and stuff like that, was this concept of non-duality. Everything's in the Buddhahood, and everything's one. And the more that you can cultivate presentness and compassion for all beings, that's the more you're enlightened in that system. Mm-hmm. And that's what meditation is all about, is just coming into the moment and escaping from the chains of anxiety that connects your thoughts to the past and the fear that connects your thoughts to the future. Just coming into the now. Be here now, like Richard Alpert, Baba Ram Dass, and all that. So I had gotten a more Eastern perspective on this whole integration, but Jordan came at it from the Western side. I mean, not to be too oddly abstract.
Monotheistic side. Huh?
Yeah, the monotheistic side, and
the correct side.
And how cool is that? Well, hey man, I consider myself. I almost like, in an effort not to, I guess, I don't know if it's an effort to not culturally appropriate or it's just an effort of being authentic, but I consider myself Christian. I consider myself Catholic partially because that's what I was thrown into on this earth.
Yeah.
It's where God or fate or society, whatever, that's what happened. So I'm like, just, okay, that's what I am. But I had a long period of studying the other stuff, I guess. I mean, maybe it's an extension of rebellion or maybe it's an open mind.
Curiosity.
Could have been curiosity.
Whoa, and not judgmental.
But I like how, even though on one level, Eastern religion, first of all, you could almost call it atheistic, is so different from Western religion, especially especially Buddhism as opposed to Hinduism. At any rate, there's very different in so many ways. But if you start to abstract up to like, hey, how do we live our life? How do we make a better society? Like the more important, biggest things we could chunk up to the highest level. See like such agreement. One is talking about non-duality. One's talking about integration and leaning in. Not to say that he represents all of Christianity and all of monotheism, but at any rate, I'm sure he represents something of it. So they're coming together. And look at this flawless and beautiful thing where we can come together and agree at the most absurd point of contention. Two different religions, two different systems of faith. They can come to a higher agreement. So if we can get those two things to align, man, it should be a piece of cake to get like liberals and conservatives to be like, oh, we're people too.
I remember C.S. Lewis, I think in Mere Christianity, the book, says something to the effect of like, when he was an atheist, he had to believe most of the world was wrong. Like 90% of people believe in some kind of higher power. Whereas once he joined the Christian faith, he only had to believe that
50%.
50% were partially wrong. Like they were partially correct though. Yeah. I don't pretend to have all the answers, and by no means.
Oh man, that's what we're all expecting here, man.
So backs, but
you just give us every answer to the questions of life.
Yeah, I think that's been really a key. I've just been trying to take away from it. Slow to judge and open to hear where people are coming from.
Well, I also think that like the slow to judge. I also think I was just reflecting too about Christianity from last week and how I think like a lot of like liberal. I think one reason that like Christianity is like less popular. Maybe one out of the many. There's so many reasons. Religions, it seems to be, besides Islam, seem to be declining across the world in general. I may be wrong about that, but I think that's the statistical thing. You see more and more secularization. And I think a lot of the criticism that Christianity has gotten, like in the mainstream mind, would be like, it's been a history of oppression, like this whole like being concerned for the marginalized and the indigenous and all the rest of it, and the people who were left out in history, and I feel like it's come to a very important time in history. What post-civil rights acts and the struggles for African American representation and stuff like that, but also post like the feminism. But we're still in this point where we're like, that's what a lot of what we're looking for is like looking for oppression. And for some reason, the same Christianity where Jesus Christ was saying these things like were so radical, he was saying, love your enemy. Mm-hmm. Like the most preposterous call for unity there ever was. Love your enemy. If they take your like jacket, like give them your pants or something, like just give them everything. Like
it's turning the other cheek,
turn the other cheek
as well.
Yeah, like if you punch it, like turn the other cheek so you can get punched again or whatever, slapped or whatever again. Like it's like the most like breaking down barriers you could ever imagine. Somehow that was the same thing that like colonized and like pillaged the world. With the Crusades and all the stuff that happened from Spain, and then they came to the New World, and like just a lot of the time we're just like slaughtering the indigenous, and then we came here and we manifest our Christian destiny or whatever across the whole place, and moved anybody of color like off the reservation, like put them on off their land and put them on a reservation, and look what happened to them and all the rest of it. So like I feel like Christianity is still like almost besmirched from that whole thing, because it's kind of hard to imagine Jesus Christ himself being like in charge of any of that. But, you know what I mean? And that's what I'm trying to salvage right now. For sure, because his teachings themselves, just like some of the Buddhists too, but also, I mean, they're super profound.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny you're talking about how all these people are being wronged, and then we're like, and now it's time to turn the other cheek. No.
Well, yeah.
What you're really getting at is for some reason, right when you were starting this, I thought of Jesus' meeting with the woman at the well. And this is like a not a proper Jew, so this is somebody who's Jewish and goes to the temple will not talk to. So he's breaking that rule. It's a woman; you wouldn't talk to a woman in public. So I think she was Sumerian, if I remember correctly, but basically just like this half Jewish intermarried with the native people. Oh, you get the idea. So he's all these kind of racist implications that we don't talk to those people. He's breaking those barriers. So like that lesson right there of just like receiving a drink of water from a woman,
right,
and just how powerful.
Right.
Like, hey, like that is the anti-sexist, anti-racist, anti-hatred.
Yes.
Even if they don't look or think the same way we do. You gotta hear where they're at and meet them where they're at and love them and
a radical message of tolerance.
Yeah. Not take them from their country, bring them to your country and make them work for you. It's love them.
Right.
I don't know what we're talking about anymore, but yeah.
Well, we're talking about the issues you got to like rub out in order to like the creases that you got to rub out of this issue of coming back together. And I listened to, for those who haven't listened, I think there was a legendary interview that took place last week on the Joe Rogan Experience with Dave Chappelle. Amazing interview with Rogan.
Oh, wow.
It was really good. Like, it was just so many insights. Like, Chappelle has become a very wise dude in addition to being a very hilarious dude. Mm-hmm. And
I mean, literally one of the funniest people on the planet.
One of my comedy heroes, no doubt. And somebody who has often talked about African American issues and Black American issues he's still talking about those issues, but on this podcast, he started to talk about kindness and how there's a clip where he's like saying something like, fuck politics. Like he's talking about kindness as the new like way, practicing kindness towards everybody so that we can finally start to trust each other as Americans again. And that should take place, that kindness should take place everywhere, especially on our podcast. And I hope that we can continue to foster fruitful dialogue. We haven't yet had you almost think that this direction of the podcast, you almost have have somebody who's like a blue-haired feminist and some trucker or something like that sit down.
Yeah, a stereotype of some kind.
But I wouldn't mind having some radical person on either side come into the Deep Homie studio and have a chat. It might be kind of preposterous though.
Yeah, and I think maybe it's on us to practice the whole idea of let's hear them, let's hear it and understand it and come to a place of some common ground and some differences and a respectful difference.
I think it's important. I think I want to foster that, and I hope to. I know we have a few comedians coming on soon. I have made some friends at the Environmental School of Forestry, some ladies over there, and I'd be interested in having them on. They were interested in coming on the podcast too, and giving like their like. First of all, somehow we haven't had any females on this podcast, and that's not intentional at all. It's just the fact that like I'm a grown dude, and most of my circle is just dudes for some reason. I don't know what the deal is, but I met these ladies are really cool.
We're all pulling for you, Karam.
But we would have females on and diversity quotas satisfied. But also we would have, an environmental, a more ecological perspective. They were pretty environmentalisty, which is cool. I mean, I love the environment. I want to hear what a young environmentalist female has to say. That's awesome. That's way different from anything we've had so far.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting because we talk a lot about tech. You know, is it good? Is it bad? Is it the negatives and positives of progress? But also, you know, what about the return to nature? You know, like
yeah. I think this podcast comes from like hey, I think it's too late for a return to nature. Like, I mean, I love that though. I love the Thoreauian dream of like going back to Walden.
I'm not talking about like building a log cabin and living on my own urine or something. I'm talking like, you know, it's really important to
you just get like a
guess
really
what we're
fancy
not gonna
filtration
have,
system. Just like
guess what we're not going to have in a few years? An ocean. Let's appreciate it when we have it.
I think we're not doing. We're like an anti-Amish show. We're actually going for.
We're an anti-Amish.
Well, no.
Fighting against the Amish. They don't know it, but we're coming from them.
They're good. My bad. You have nothing to fear, Amish. We're down for you. I didn't mean it that way. I just meant like we're not encouraging getting rid of the technology. We're one tension of the show is trying to live with the technology without going totally off the deep end and becoming so cyborg-like that we're unrecognizable as human beings. Mm-hmm. And already we're already going in that direction. You get on the subway in New York City, and everybody just is on their little tablet in their own little world and all that stuff. But, I mean, that's not necessarily bad. It's good, though. At least it's fostering social harmony. But it's, we want to still be able to converse with each other. We still want to have first-person experience. We still want to have all these things that we get when we're together and not just sucked into the screen. So that's one tension on the show. We also have the tension of life hacks and that's similar actually as a tension. And now we're really talking about fostering conversation, you know, and that's important. And that's actually, this is all the same thing if you think about it, because this sucks us away from each other when we're in this stereotypical world. We're like we're not with one. Okay, that sucks us away from another, and so doesn't unnecessary political division and race and color and creed and all that other stuff and gender identity and all that other stuff. It sucks us away from each other. Oh, we see each other as different. And so all this stuff we're trying to I guess we're just trying to promote unity on this show, whether it's together and not always with the tech, or together and not always with the political and the ideology and the fighting and the this and the differences and the blue and the red and everything. Like, it's, we got a big task ahead of us. I don't know if we're gonna solve world peace today or tomorrow, but maybe next week, maybe 25 episodes more. Yeah, 20 or 30 more episodes.
Yeah, should be good. Yeah, 20 or 30 more episodes.
Then they'll elect the deep homies emperors of the world.
Yeah.
To foster the peace of the ages.
Yeah. If you're being elected as an emperor of the world, I really hope you're like gonna quote Palpatine while you're doing it.
Do you know any Palpatine quotes off your mind?
I
just see that hood and that wrinkle.
Oh yeah, that wrinkle. I mean, I'm dissolving the Republic into a galactic empire. That's one of the big ones.
I'm dissolving the Republic into an empire.
Galactic Empire. It's such a moment because you're like,
he likes to freak out.
Sounds so evil.
Well, he likes to freak out at the end and then reveal his face. Yeah. I feel like he's like, the Galactic Empire.
I think also his most famous quote is good.
Can we use that quote for Good Studios at the end of the Karam and Paul videos? Remember I did the good voice?
I know.
We should have him do it instead.
Yeah.
But then we'll get sued by like Lucas and lose. So.
Maybe if we use if we do like a Star Wars,
we'll have like a court-appointed lawyer and he'll have whoever defended freaking OJ.
Oh yeah, Cochran. Johnny Cochran. He's dead, sadly.
Yeah.
Cancer.
Yeah.
So they say.
If the glove don't fit, you must have quit.
Yeah. You never ever put a bra on. Seinfeld's so amazing. It's got to fit tight like a glove.
Speaking of Seinfeld, I thought that this show is, because it seems to it's a show. It's not Seinfeld was a show about nothing, and the Deep Homie Guide is turning into a show about everything. Isn't that nice?
Whoa.
Yo, just made a comparison to Seinfeld. We're great.
That's how you create parallels. And we are both comedians. We both own cars, and both of us today have drank coffee. Yeah.
Sweet, dude. So, oh man, so how we doing on time?
Oh, we've done it. We're doing it. 38 minutes in.
Oh, bet. All right, cool, man.
Yeah,
so if you're still listening to this podcast right now, I want to go ahead and personally thank you.
Yeah.
Since the average viewing is not the whole thing on the YouTube so far.
But was this a recap or like recap of everything we've done so far?
It is like what's that kind of episode again where they do like the like what's the kind of episode like the Seinfeld has one where they just show
the
like,
clip episode? One of my absolute favorite things about Community is that they did a clip show with all new clips.
Oh, you told me all new clips.
All new clips.
That's definitely pretty meta.
Which is like one of the most exhausting things they ever did as a show, because it's supposed to be an easy show to produce, and it turned into like a show that felt like 18 shows at once or whatever.
Oh my god. So I figured we could do a little Deep Homies Do the News. Just because why not? Why bore our listeners with only meta commentary on where the show has come from and where it's going? I think it's important though. It's important to get straight the aim of the show and figure out, hey, we're looking to come to unity in all ways possible. Humanity wise, meta world peace,
The singularity. Unity.
The singularity. So I figured we could do some stuff with the news, and the biggest thing I'm seeing in the news right now is Middle Eastern conflict.
Oh, no.
400 rockets hit Israel. Netanyahu threatens escalation. This is the top page of the Drudge Report.
Yeah. So Netanyahu is a person, not the Yahoo website, right?
Oh my god.
The net and the Yahoo. Literally, as you said it, like, yeah, I looked at the net and Yahoo, and they both are saying that there was 400 rockets.
So this is actually a dramatic escalation in the Middle East.
It feels dramatic, yes.
Because
I don't mean to make light of it.
So they have the Iron Dome IDF system of around Israel. They've built this unbelievably advanced technology, this unbelievably advanced piece of military equipment. The Iron Dome is an anti-missile protection. It's basically like a shield around Israel.
As close to we are as a force field at this point.
Basically, because ordinarily when Gaza Strip or anywhere from Palestine shoots rockets or missiles into Israel, this happens quite frequently, actually.
It's called the Iron Dome?
It's called like the Iron Dome. I don't know.
Can I propose a nickname? The Dikembe Mutombo. The Mutombo. The finger whack. Because he was famous for blocking so many shots.
Wait, Mutombo is going to be the name?
the Dikembe Mutombo. Because it blocks so many shots.
I know. Yeah, he used to wag his finger.
The finger bag. Yeah, the finger
wagger.
Yeah. Nah.
Anyway, this is bad though. This is bad because usually the Iron Dome Mutombo usually protects Israel real good, and usually nobody ever dies almost ever in Israel because every time Palestinians launch the little rockets in, they just get blown up in the sky by the Iron Dome. But now they were overwhelmed, and there was so much fire out of the Gaza Strip that actually 2 Israelis were killed and 80 were injured.
So you're saying that overwhelmed because of the sheer number of rockets being fired at once?
Seems so.
Oh my gosh.
So this is so the power discrepancy between Israel and Palestine is just sad and ridiculous. It ordinarily feels like when Palestine's trying to fight for themselves, it's just kind of like a little midget trying to fight The Rock, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. It's just not going to happen. And Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is funded by world funders. This is like the United States. We send foreign aid every year, millions of dollars. Plus, Israel has a pretty good economy too, tech sector and the rest of it. So they got tons of money coming out of their ears, and so they got tons of military coming out of their ears. Whereas Gaza, it's almost like a bunch of guys yelling in Arabic, lighting a little thing on fire, shooting it up in the sky. It's just an embarrassment half the time. So I don't even know how this happened. They are funded, however, by of course Iran, and that's why Iran is considered big enemy, and because Israel is our ally and Palestine's not. I just feel bad for Palestinians, from a human rights standpoint, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't even know who to blame anymore. Israel, Palestine.
Yeah. So you're saying all this, of course, not to trivialize the Palestinian people, but rather,
absolutely not.
Just looking at the funding and the David versus Goliath.
It's like Mike Tyson versus us.
Yeah, I feel like you're going with the David versus Goliath, but in this case, David is not a Jewish person. Goliath is.
yeah, totally.
Yes. Okay.
But that, not to say that, but at the same time, I don't condone the fact that the the Palestinians are attacking, at war with Israel. I'm not saying that either, because I also, just like with this podcast, want peace if possible.
Oh, I'd prefer
and I think
it,
if we can get past the he said, she said of it all. I don't know if Israel should have been founded the way it was, right in the middle of taking somebody's land and all the rest of it. These people who are already living there, but it happened. What are we gonna do? We're gonna try to renegotiate that, and there's nothing. I think it's probably too late. Israel is what it is, and so Israel's there. So I think the best thing to do is try to cultivate peace. It just sucks. I couldn't even imagine living in the Gaza Strip. I couldn't even imagine living in these impoverished areas, and everybody's radicalized. Why are they radicalized? Well, a lot of the time, it's just like we were talking about earlier with the fork.
Yeah.
In the streets. Let's look in the streets of Syracuse. We have these communities of color living in the city, black people living in the city, and all they've known is like their brothers and their mothers and their sisters and their fathers or whatever, bad interactions with the police. That's the same, but take that escalation probably way worse in Gaza, where it's like everybody and their brother and their sister knows, they know Abdul, he got his arm blown off by the IDF, by the Israelis. They know their father's dead because he got hit by a bomb. Because usually Israel will retaliate big time, like David Goliath type style. So I don't know what if Israel's retaliating now, but I'm sure they're going to blow some stuff up in the Gaza Strip big time. And
so you're saying all of this firepower, all this attacking came from Gaza, is what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what it's saying here in this in the Jerusalem Post.
You're also saying that's what Palestine holds right now, because I remember
they got
when
the
I
Gaza
was a
Strip.
child, the fight was over the Gaza Strip.
Well, so. Yeah, and
I don't even
and these
pretend
regions
to know all these complexities and what exactly.
And I don't think
want.
I almost feel like you don't. Not to take anything away from the historical implications of what's going on one place or another, and whether it's in Gaza or whether it's in Tel Aviv. I almost feel like you don't need to know all the details. I almost feel like the most important thing to do is to work towards peace, and I know we haven't ever been able to achieve that. No one's ever been able to achieve that. Clinton couldn't achieve that. Reagan couldn't achieve that. I mean, they're always trying to work for Israeli peace somehow, Israel-Palestine peace, and they can't get to it. And I don't know who. I'm not going to even try to take a side and say who to blame. I can also look at it. I think anybody can look at it and say, it is a David Goliath scenario. It's very little chance of Palestine ever rising up and taking back Israel, mostly because the United States is behind Israel. Not to mention a lot of other European power.
If for some reason that weren't the case, Palestine is not the only place that seems to have a disliking towards the Israeli nation.
So there's a huge unity against Israel in the Middle East, in terms of for example, where I'm mostly from is Lebanon, and in Lebanon they have Hezbollah has become a huge major political movement.
Okay,
and that's actually part of the reason why right now Lebanon is going through extreme crisis. Not only is it Lebanon, like we remember the explosion back in the summer in Beirut, that horrible tragedy where lots of people died and everything.
I think your cousin Tommy told me about that at dinner one night.
Well, in addition to that, they're also now, I believe there's sanctions. There's a lot of economic stuff going on. The Lebanese pound is inflating, like we were talking about the US dollar inflating. The Lebanese pound is they're starting to carry around in baskets and stuff like that, like they did in Weimar Germany. It's out of control.
Have you ever been there?
I've never been there. I would like to go there. Once again, it's a jewel of a place. It's like California. Okay. It's Mediterranean. There's super hot regions. You can be on the beach on the Mediterranean Sea, and that same day you could go up to the mountain and have some snow and be up there and make a bonfire.
Wow, so it's really, really similar.
Unbelievably beautiful.
I thought
the land of cedars.
Super hot chicks there. I want to go.
There's some pretty hot chicks there. I mean,
I thought that's what you were saying.
There's some pretty hot chicks there. It's been one of the most. There's some pretty hot chicks there. Lebanese chicks are pretty hot in general. I mean, I don't know, but no. I mean, I shouldn't even say that. But there are hot chicks there, and also it's one of the most wet. Because that's not even true. There's definitely unattractive people in every colony. But there's definitely some hot Lebanese chicks. But the point being,
no, I just was saying when you said it's super hot, I was waiting for you to there's super hot chicks or something
No, but actually, what I'm trying to say is it was one of the most westernized Middle Eastern countries from the get-go. They were colonized by France in the 20th century. And they had women didn't have to wear the veil and stuff like that in Lebanon for a long time. Mm-hmm. And it's because part of whatever. I think there's too many politics to get into, but yeah, Hezbollah is a huge power. They are pro-Palestine, anti-Israel. Big reason why Lebanon's falling apart.
Potentially, that's a question.
Anti-Israelism. let me just follow up this thought before you get to your question. The biggest threat now is, it's true, not to be hawkish against Iran. I want there to be peace with Iran as well. But Iran has a decent amount of money, and because mostly from their oil wealth, even though they're not doing very well right now because most of the world is blocking their imports. But they are the big funders behind. So like this stuff, like the fact that the Palestinians probably had, for once, it's like, I shouldn't say successful because it's cost Israeli lives. It's horrible. It's violent and all the rest of it. They had a successful campaign for once with the rockets almost. That must have been like direct funding from Iran.
That's what you're theorizing. You
Almost definitely.
You didn't realize that.
Yeah, because the Palestinians in general have no funding.
Okay.
So anyway, that's my
But
thoughts.
it had to come from somewhere that is also most likely publicly against Israel.
Yeah, and I hope this talk is just coming across as interesting, real talk, and hopefully it's as nonpartisan as you can get, because I'm not pro-Israel or pro-Palestine.
Yeah.
I'm pro-peace. I'm pro-peace.
I hope there's some way of coming to some peace and hopefully this
What was that thing? What was that thing you were going to say?
I kind of wanted to wait for it because I wanted it to be a little bit more casual of a joke. It's a dad joke. You guys ready for this dad status right here? Growing up,
Daddy Woods.
Growing up as a Lebanese American, did you ever, like, after a really cool moment with your family or something, say like, "Man, that's the Lebanese knees," like bees knees, but Lebanese knees?
I like that.
You like that in the way that we're never going to talk about.
Well, I like that because it takes off of my joke this week. My new jokes I was doing at the open mic.
Okay.
I was talking about, I was going that rant about the bee's knees.
Oh yeah, you were talking about bee's knees, right? Yeah.
And I was like, I was like, what is with this stupid expression that the bee's knees? What is the bee's knees? I never seen the bee's knees in my whole life.
Exactly.
Stare on my face with that dumb expression. Like, do I go around saying dumb expressions to you? Like, do I come up to you and be like, oh, it's the hoe's nose? Like,
I'm Lebanese. Do I say it's the Lebanese knees? No, because that would make no sense. Like,
makes no sense at all.
Dude, I literally, like, it rattling in my brain was bee's knees, and I was like, I think I heard that somewhere this week, but it literally was from you, but I didn't really like. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't realize it was from you. So it's,
oh my gosh,
it's funny that it came back. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You take it. Have it.
Oh, okay, we're good. So anyway, that was the big foreign policy, foreign news going on today. Is the big
that we marginalized. We marginalized through jokes. No, it's terrible. Hopefully, it doesn't lead to escalation. But are we expecting anything more than, like? I wouldn't expect it not to escalate at this point, right? At the moment, like when someone shoots at you, you usually shoot back, right?
Oh yeah. And it's not going to be good. It's not going to be pretty when Israel really fires back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
it's like when you're mad and you're writing an email, right? Just ready to tell Brenda what you think.
I'm just trying to look at some headlines to get to. I don't know. So that's big news. I almost feel like there's no news anymore. There's no news because like Donald Trump's not the president anymore.
I was waiting for it. I was like, because
and like now that DT's not the P, now that DT's not the P,
yeah,
it's just like there's nobody just to rail against every day and get upset about every single day for the news media. And there's like nothing going on. Like it's I'm not seeing almost any news. They actually I got some relevant news for us actually. I saw a headline last week. Facebook, like their like board met. Okay. It was like a parole meeting on Donald Trump.
A parole meeting?
They were going to decide whether or not to allow him back on the platform. And they decided not to. They said they deferred this decision another 6 months ahead of time. Mm-hmm. So they're going to come back and meet on it in another 6 months or to decide another 6 months. But they decided for now, it's best not allow Donald Trump on the Facebook platform. And, I don't even have to go into my thoughts on this. Everybody knows him. I'm totally against tech censorship. I don't care if it's Donald Trump, Alex Jones, fucking Nelson Mandela. I don't care who the fuck we're talking about. You gotta let
the crazy people be heard and see that they're crazy.
Did you just call Nelson Mandela crazy?
Oh, dang it. No!
I'm Paul Wood and I'm not a racist.
I meant Alex Jones or whoever.
So anyway, that happened last week. And
Mandela got banned? Is that what you're saying? No, he did not.
He did not.
Yeah,
no. I was just trying to defend somebody who wasn't like a crazy old white man. Yeah. Okay, here's one. Who's that one guy? Louis Farrakhan. He's probably banned. I don't think even he should be listened to. Oh, you don't know Louis Farrakhan? Louis Farrakhan is a black leader based in Chicago. He's the descendant. Remember Nation of Islam, Malcolm X. That school of Islam, the Nation of Islam.
When you say descendant,
he's the
you mean
descendant, like
literally
he's the leader of that
or
at this time.
Okay, you don't mean literally hereditary. You mean
No.
like he's from that same ideology.
Well, yes. So anyway, remember, I believe that the story was that Malcolm X actually tried to leave. He basically did leave the Nation of Islam, and then it wasn't long after that he was assassinated.
Okay, most of what I know about Malcolm X is from the Denzel Washington movie that I saw once.
Yeah, he left the Nation of Islam towards the end, then he got assassinated. He publicly announced it March 8th, 1964, and then he ended up dying in 1965. Now, he was shot, so it may or may not have been a conspiracy against him. There's a lot of thought about that, but it doesn't really matter. The point being that Louis Farrakhan is the current leader of the Nation of Islam, and he is known as somebody who says extraordinarily controversial things.
Okay.
And in particular, he pretty much says a lot of anti-Semitic things. Speaking of Israel, he talks a lot. He definitely comes against the white man a lot too, but he also says a lot of anti-Israel stuff, anti-Semitic stuff, and super pro black Islamic point of view. He's very famous, and I don't know if he's allowed on Facebook or not, but I think he's banned from a lot of platforms because his views aren't considered good. You know, I just don't like censorship. I think this guy's a clown for the most part. I think that Donald Trump has mostly been a clown. I think Alex Jones had a lot of interesting stuff that he said, but he as Zach Edwards said, he like mixed it and peppered in with a lot of clownishness.
Yeah, what it reminds me of a lot of in high school, we heard a lot of tolerance. Oh, we need tolerance. We need tolerance. We need tolerance. And I remember thinking in my head, like, the only thing we can't tolerate is intolerance. Like, if someone doesn't want to have this viewpoint, we don't seem to want to fit it inside of our community or society anymore.
Yeah. And
I know that
it's weird.
Yeah, somebody would argue against what I just said and be like, "No, you don't understand it." And
I also get it. I also get the other point of view when the point of view is presented rationally. I can understand not wanting, say, a Louis Farrakhan on your platform, somebody who's talking about the Jews. Like, that's not. I don't agree with that. I think that's terrible, and I think I can see how that marginalizes an entire group of people. I mean, just like you wouldn't want somebody on the platform going like, "It's the blacks."
Yeah.
It's the whites. Like, although that is actually kind of allowed. It's the whites. That's like actually kind of allowed, to be fair. Mm-hmm. But all this stuff is just. I don't like policing speech. Just let the clowns talk, and we can sort it out. I guess I have a faith. I guess I have faith in humans. Maybe I have too much faith in humans that I'm like, I think the average person can like weed out the extremism for themselves. I truly believe that, but maybe that's obviously not what big tech thinks.
Well, I think it's the human is smart, but the
human,
the multiple masses, we often respond, and I group myself into this too because it's easy to get in these knee-jerk reactions, inflammatory verbiage.
Yeah.
And even in a way that like I almost feel like it's almost being presented as multiple choice, true, false, or this side or that side. There is no in between, and it's very easy when presented with two options to only feel like there are only two options.
Yeah.
So again, getting back to our grander point is the life hack of remaining curious, being slow to judge, all that.
Yeah, man, it's all good stuff. I'm just trying to see. It looks like Newsom. So Newsom's running against. He's got the recall election in California.
Can I ask you this? Because I don't know. How does one get to a place where they can get recalled?
So it depends on your state.
It depends on your state.
I don't even know if every state allows you to recall an elected official, but apparently in California, it's funny that I actually have the answer to this question. As long as you get a signatures of over approximately, it's a percentage of the population, but it ended up being like 1.4 or 1.5 million signatures. They actually got 1.5 million
but how
signatures.
Many, do you have a ballpark of what percentage that is?
No, I don't. Well, actually.
But then you figure if you got a law written in where it says you need 2.4 million people.
So there's like 39. There's like 39.
The population goes up.
It looks like I hope I'm not making this up, but there's about a little over 39 million people in California. So apparently you needed, somewhere close to 1/40th or something like that.
I'm not saying that this is true. I'm just proposing. What if you needed like 1.4, 1/30th right now? Okay, but what if that law was written when there was only 20 million people in the state? Do you know what I'm saying? Like the population of California has grown over time. How old was that number constructed? So maybe it was a larger percentage a while ago, and now it's. I'm not voting against him getting recalled. I don't really have a. I don't have a dog in that fight, so to speak. But I'm just kind of theorizing, like, is that a percentage thing or is that a numbers thing? Like, those are all things. And then, like, some states you can't recall your governor, or can you, or is it seems to be a state by state situation,
It seems to be a state by state situation,
county by county, whatever.
Oh, here we go. Okay, here we go. I finally got you. That number must be 12% of the voters in the last election.
Oh, now that seems like a little bit more concrete.
12% of the voters in the last election.
Wow.
So there you go. A large minority.
That seems like a law that at least has a you mean minority like at least has
But I think
has a good barometer.
But I think this is funny though, because like just like in the last couple of weeks you had Cuomo. He's fighting for his political life here in New York.
Can he get recalled?
He can't get recalled, but he could lose the next election, or he could get. Oh, he might get. Isn't he like he's facing like lawsuits and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm.
So he might. I don't think he's gonna get recalled, but he could be
Impeachable?
like impeached maybe, or maybe thrown out, or he might resign. He was encouraged to resign at one point because of all the sexual scandals.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he's been getting hit over the head with, and it's very funny because as soon as that hit the news a month ago, we almost don't even talk about it now, and we're sitting here in New York State. Especially upstate where everybody hates Cuomo. They hate Cuomo here in Syracuse. They just do. They hate him upstate. They think that there's so many reasons for that. But like, and maybe hate's a strong term, but at any rate, they don't like him up here. But anyway, you almost don't hear about this effort to get rid of him anymore because he just seemed to throw all this stuff at us. He started opening things up again finally for COVID. Like we finally go out again. Okay, we're able to stay out till 12 o'clock at night. Oh, it's not that bad. And then he legalized marijuana. And so now everyone's like puffing in the streets and nobody cares anymore. And now it's almost like that helped to derail the movement against him. And
Well, if you
now
want people to calm down, legalize weed. It'll help mellow them out, right?
we're gonna start putting it in the tap water. Now California governor is they're trying to drop California stimulus checks.
California stimmy. California stimmy.
So he's like, don't vote for Caitlyn. He's like, I'm about to throw you 1,000.
Oh wait, and that's what it is. Caitlyn Jenner is running, right?
Well, if you're an individual, it looks like you're gonna get 600. And then, look how Weasley looks in this photograph. He's gonna give you individuals 600. He's gonna give families like another 500 on top of that.
Sounds like we need to make a trip out to California.
Yeah, you could probably get it even if you're undocumented. You just show up, just get in line.
Yeah.
But it's just him fighting for his political life. I found that to be a funny headline. It's just these governors, these weasels. It's like, Cuomo's like, oh, public health. And as soon as he's getting to be like dogged a little bit in the fight, he's like, all right, we're gonna open up the state. We're gonna let weed be legal. We're gonna like, it's just these guys. That's what I don't trust these slimy politicians, man. They just do whatever they need to do to keep themselves in power, man. That's the American way, is to feel that way about politicians. Yet there's so many people in our country that just love them to death and line up behind them. Like,
Yeah, it's crazy to me.
One side or the other, whether it's Fox Brigade or it's the the MSNBC Maddow Brigade. It's just like, man, stop taking. Teams are supposed to be in sports. Like, stop with the.
Yeah. People have the same fervor for like a sports team, like over candidates, and it's like, you like them that much, really?
I know.
But you know what? Have at it, I guess. Whatever.
I gotta say though, like this whole legalization of pot in New York State, I really like it, and not just because like, oh, I can smoke everywhere. Like, I like it because and I might be wrong about this, but I feel like I have my ear to the streets. Like I'm just a cutty dude. I skate and I don't live in the best places sometimes, and like right here is an okay place.
I mean, you've slept under bridges.
I have actually, but no, that's not what you mean. I slept on the side of the road more so than under a bridge.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'm with the streets. Is what I'm trying to say. I'm legit.
You're hip.
I'm
yeah.
hip with it.
The pulse of Kansas, baby.
So I have been around Syracuse a lot in the last couple weeks, ever since weed was legalized, and I smell a lot more weed. I see a lot of people walking. I saw a guy at Schiller Park yesterday just walking with his dog, enjoying a blunt, smoking weed, and I think that this is good. I think that whenever you let minor vices, if you want to call them that, live and be open in fresh air and in sunlight, they become a lot less dangerous and scary. And I think you could even see, whether it's vices or any other thing that's been oppressed, and I think that's probably good to have a more open society. So in the same way that you're letting now our culture is finally being like, hey, okay, if you're gay, you can come out and jump up and down and wear a dress. Nobody can. It's fine. Just if you're trans, all right. Like, that's the push. I'm not trying to diminish, like, say that there's still not hate and whatever. But like a lot of people are like, all right, man, it's cool. If you let people smoke weed, it's like, all right, cool. It's not that big a deal. You just like let these things that used to be wrong live and let live. As long as you're not hurting somebody, that's the way society should move and keep going in this direction. Now, I don't know where the line should be drawn when we get to other drugs. Like, not sure.
It does seem like it's gonna, have its next hurdle.
I'm not really sure
like
where
the
you go
next
with.
thing.
I'm not sure where you go with like the cocaine and where you go with the magic mushrooms and stuff like that. I'm not really sure, but I think in general,
Man, I mean,
people are using it. People are going to use it regardless. It's not like
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to have like a cocaine like rush for some reason.
Again,
I'm not sure.
My experience, ride shares, Uber driver, Lyft driver, is you're around so many people that are constantly smelling like weed. It's like, I guess the general populace wants this to be legal.
Well, yeah,
They all want to use it. So if we,
it's definitely become like alcohol in its ubiquity.
You get what I'm saying? Like, it's like, hey, if they want it, then isn't the government supposed to be a reflection of the people's wants and needs?
Yeah.
But
I can only imagine. I just feel like there's been a sigh of relief when I go through the inner city, like bad neighborhoods almost. Maybe that's me just seeing something that's not there. But I think that a lot of because how there's all this contest between the inner city and the cops.
Oh.
A lot of that has probably been literally cops being like smelling weed on the corners where they're always been smoking weed in the hood. They're always been smoking weed, whether it was legal or illegal. Yeah. And that creates escalation.
Really,
and really, actually, Tony talked about that in the 420 episode. Mm-hmm. He and Matt talked about that both with the whole stop and frisk thing. And even though stop and frisk has been out of style for a long time, even still, you could have like an unwarranted search and seizure just over the fact that you smell like pot, man. I'm sorry, you're smoking some weed, boy.
Yeah, and then it's something that's so hard to prove later. Did he smell like? Well, I smelled it.
Yeah.
I mean, walk around college campus for 10 minutes. You're gonna smell whiffs of it all over the place.
Oh, facts.
Yeah.
And I think that except for maybe not as much
because of the mask.
Because of the mask, but also the weeds. Most universities have been like smoke-free in the past couple of years. Huge trend. Syracuse is, as was Vassar. But anyway, my point being that I think this is good, especially for the divide in the inner city community.
Then I'll amend it. Walk down frat row.
Fair. All I'm saying is, what with the hopefully not defunding, but hopefully with the reforming of the police. Hopefully, if that's happening as a trend, and hopefully with the decriminalization of marijuana and the legalization of marijuana, hopefully that is a dual thing that helps to heal the inner city and the black community and the people of color community with the police. Hopefully, this creates a new world of that is a big thing, man. If the cops have to stop every time they smell weed in the hood, they're going to stop every 4 seconds. And then that turns into an escalation, and that turns into a seizure, and that turns into another thing that somebody saw, just like that Palestinian kid saw their brother got their arm blown off. Somebody sees their brother get arrested because they were smoking a little pot that everybody's smoking all the time. It doesn't do anything really that much. And it's like that seed grows into hatred, and that seed grows into division. And I think this is a cool place to stop with not even stop, but like to come to with this podcast right now is because we're starting to synthesize so much stuff at once here.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the idea of vengeance, the idea of bitterness, the idea that during your formative years you have such a negative experience with either authority or another people group attacking you, all those things.
I was going to say one last piece of news, and I don't think this is even in any way, shape, or form. If you've made it through this podcast this far, congratulations.
Yeah. You win nothing.
I don't know. I think you and I talked. We shot the shit, but I think we keep coming to similar points, and I'm happy about that. I guess it's not like it's completely random.
No. I think there's been a centered heartbeat on what I think we both have really been.
Speaking of heartbeat, and stopping that heartbeat.
Oh, whoa!
Here we have the
perfect segues between the two of us.
Check it out.
Speaking of heartbeats and stopping it.
So I just wanted to make a quick note of this. This is the last piece of news I saw come up on Google.
Yeah.
Syracuse burger named best
in New York. Once again.
This is at the Ale and Angus. Have you ever had this burger? I have not.
The Ale and Angus. That's the Ale downtown.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Is that open right now? Did you mention
that it's like the classiest place in Syracuse? It's like
it's open.
It's a classy bar.
I don't know, but it's open.
Man, you're tempting me.
So anyway, just that being said, looking at the Ale and Angus, they just won New York Prize for best burger, and that's in Syracuse. And we got some Syracuse pride, baby. Syracuse coming back. Mm-hmm. So anyway, did you have something you were saying? Some question you had to finish the podcast off, and you were thinking about some joke stuff, comedian stuff.
We kind of we're getting back out there on the mics, legal mics to hit now.
Legal.
Going to those sad bars and
legal.
Getting up there and
performing for the orphans.
Yeah.
Last week,
I don't know what this
last week Sarge seemed to brought a brigade of children. We weren't really sure what was going on.
Unaccompanied minors.
And they were, he said they were mining Bitcoin before they got there, but
is that right?
I gotta stop with that lame joke that no one's ever laughed at except for you.
Mining?
Well, miners.
Yeah.
I'm really into miners. What do you mean, dude?
But-
I'm really into people who mine Bitcoin.
Oh yeah.
It's actually kind of a joke.
That's an Epstein save right there. Which gets to my point. Like we missed a whole year of pop culture and news stories and headlines where I didn't do a lot of digital digital stand up, or we didn't have a lot of outlets at that time. So like what is too old to tread on? What is too sensitive to tread on? Like I that was a lot of what I did at the last stand up set that we did, was kind of like rehashing old jokes and being like, and they're not old because like I never performed them for like an actual stand up audience, really. Like only once I actually can think of for some of them. But like, is Epstein still topical, or is that old hat? I don't even feel like it got its heyday. Is making fun of QAnon still a thing, or is that over with? That's what I'm kind of wondering. Like, there's a lot of pop culture. Tiger King, is that passe? I would think it is, but have we all collectively not had a chance to share, or was social media enough?
I feel like you're gonna be able to get away with the expression, like if you were to tell any joke somehow about somebody, somehow the punchline had to do with suicide, and then you were to follow it with, and Epstein didn't kill himself, that would probably work for another 10 years.
You think so? Okay, yeah.
But I don't know if like the specifics. I don't know, but like I feel like when you get into Weinstein, that territory for me feels also though different, similar to the Weinstein territory. You know what I mean, with the big Harv,
Epstein, Webstein, Einstein,
big Harvey, and poor Harvey, man.
Poor Harvey.
I mean, every single time they show him in the news, he progressively like loses another limb or something.
They find the worst stock photo each time, and
No.
the guy gets worse.
No. He's like in a wheelchair now and stuff. Like he's like,
oh really?
He like lost all of his life's energy through this trial, man.
Oh man,
poor guy.
Too bad.
He's like the Emperor Palpatine of Hollywood.
Yeah,
without the robe.
Yeah, he's been scarred forever after scarring.
He always looked
women.
pretty bad, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's funny. I don't know. You think you can make? I think Epstein and Weinstein can always joke as the epitome, for not always, for a long time will work as the epitome of like badness and sexual misconduct. I think that'll work for a while. Just like Bernie Madoff works as the epitome of just like financial misconduct. You can still throw down a Madoff. Remember I was trying to do that one Madoff with your money joke that nobody really ever laughed at?
Madoff with your money. It's still not a bad. That's good. That's good wordplay, man.
Madoff with your money.
Yeah, that is.
Well, that was like something I was trying to do. I was trying to do something where I was like, I was saying like it felt like everything was a conspiracy like in the world, because like how is it possible the guy that made off with your money is named Bernie Madoff? And there was like I was like, how is it possible that the first famous person was like Caitlyn Jenner and all this stupid stuff?
Oh wow.
Like, but
these are all great wordplays, man.
I'm glad that you like it. It never worked on stage, but maybe I just didn't test it out enough.
Yeah, but you know how Mike said.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think Epstein. It's hard to say, man. It depends on what you're going. What do you think? I mean, I think that it's he's the epitome of sexual misconduct, and it's the epitome of a conspiracy. I think it'll be relevant for a long time.
Yeah.
Is it the basis for like the best joke or for a lasting joke? I'm not really sure.
Well, even that, like, here's a slightly different subject, I guess, but like one of my jokes premises is like the other day I was eating some fast food, but like that doesn't sound believable now because I can't say, oh yeah, yesterday I was eating some fast food. Like I was at the restaurant, I was at a Wendy's. You're like, no, you weren't. Like,
oh, you had something. You had something where you had to be in there.
Yeah, it's like I was at the Wendy's, and that doesn't like. Is Wendy's open for like eating inside of it at this point or no?
Some might be and some might not be.
You get what I'm saying though. Like it's like those might need new setups, like new adjustments, and then also like I don't know. The current Epstein joke I have is more of a cringe. It's a cringe joke, so it feels like
joke?
It's still cringe is an acceptable response to me. Like it's a reaction. It's not a who cares. You know what I mean? Cringing is like, ooh, that really hurt. Dang.
Well, what is the joke? Or what's it?
Oh, dude, it's the do you know I like to call Epstein's Island? I like to call it the milk carton because every missing girl ended up on it. You know, it's terrible. But the whole idea is it's meant to be cringe. It's meant to be like, oh, and it's like, oh, you got to laugh at this screwed up world.
I don't know, man. I can't even theorize about this topic so much as to say, as I always say about stand up, is it's really I always see it as the thermostat or the barometer. It's just, are they laughing? Are they laughing? Yes. Okay. It's working. Are they not laughing? Time and time again. All right. Time to, throw that one out.
No doubt. It's just it's a curious.
I think it's a curious topic because I'm imagining that. So I would theorize that everybody's going to be wanting to get past this. Once them vaccines are really kicked in, and once like July 1st comes around, I think that's when they're opening up New York fully.
Oh,
and once people don't have to wear masks.
May 19th? No.
I don't know, man. I think that might be maskless. Might be July 1st, something like that.
Oh, really? Okay.
It might be just saying things that aren't true. But I mean, we have dates now.
Huh?
We have dates of serious hard opens, and once all that starts to flow again, I feel like we're going to be trying to. I think the common sentiment would be like, just get past this.
Really?
Just get past Donald Trump.
Will it be like
just get past Epstein. Get past Weinstein. Get past.
Will it be like the
past
Greg Robinson era for Syracuse football? We don't want to ever talk about.
We don't want to ever talk about it again. Get past Carol Baskin. Like I kind of feel like that's going to be a lot of the energy. But then again, that almost makes these topics almost better because it's almost like the things you don't want to talk about, the things that are like creeping in the shadows, the things that are hidden in the closet are often the funniest material for stand-up. And in the past, I've theorized about that too, and I was talking about how I wonder if we become so tolerant as a society, if there's anything funny anymore. Because for the longest time, not that it was right, it was totally wrong. But when I was growing up, somehow the punchline was always, "You're gay," or "It's gay. That's so gay," and somehow that would make all the kids laugh. Or "You're gay, dude." Like somehow, like, and I'm not saying that was right. I was totally wrong, homophobic, and horrible towards a whole class of people. And I'm glad that we're getting past that now. But then again, all that was theoretically was, oh, you're something so different that it's like in the closet we can't even talk about it, and it's ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
Like it's you're different, like that you're strange, like and that's a lot of the time that's where humor comes from, is like whatever is not allowed socially, whatever is hidden, whatever is uncomfortable to speak about. And so, if we're trying to get past Epstein and Trump and all the rest of it, it might be funny to hit back on the old COVID stuff. I don't know the specifics though. Like if you get into specifics of like wearing masks and like all the other stuff, I don't know if that will necessarily punch for a long time. I don't know. I think it'll punch this summer though. Like, oh, finally got the diaper off my face. Feeling free. I got them out. Free the nipple. Free the lippies. I don't know. Free the lipples. The lipples.
Shout out to Mr. Jackson right there. Yeah.
What?
Or Jackson. Oh, let the nipples breathe. Like his punchline.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let the nipples breathe.
Yeah, he's so
Let the
good
lips
at it.
breathe. So I don't know, man. I think it's gonna be, but I think people are gearing up for party. That's what I think.
You think it's gonna just be on like Donkey
Have
Kong?
your drink, good time. I feel like that's gonna just be like subconsciously on as soon as everybody's out. But I'm so worried, man. I'm seriously so worried that they're gonna be like, oh, like we're gonna be popped off like July 2nd. Everyone's gonna be like, and all of a sudden like July 3rd, like Fauci comes out and it's like, we've discovered the German strain. The German strain is quarantine now. Quarantine.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be like. It's just gonna be like we're just gonna have to move to Florida and just risk the German plague in order to like subsist as a
The
human
German
being.
strain, it's stronger and angrier. 9.
I don't know. That's been it, man. That's been the Deep Homie Guide to the 21st Century with your co-hosts, Karam and Paul. Like and subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah. Stay curious.
Stay curious. And remember, always, always, always.
Remember, keep it deep, homies.